Give me a signal when you're rolling. Hi, we're here with Daniel Rothschild, and he is a student of Austrian economics. He's getting his doctorates in economics very soon, and he's going to talk to us about the trade tariffs that were just announced yesterday.
Okay. Well, what's your question?
My question, first, I was going to give you a chance to make your comment and explain your position, which I can already guess. And then I'm going to go through some questions that I think will help people understand trade.
Sure. Well, first of all, when you make something more expensive or when you prevent someone from buying something, they're worse off. If someone said, you could only find your future spouse within a mile of where you live, maybe you'll meet someone really great, but your options are very limited. And if someone said we're going to put a tariff where we're going to make it, very difficult for you to look for a mate outside of a mile of your radius, you're worse off.
So a tariff.
So a tariff is sort of like that.
A tariff is a tax, right?
It's a tax.
And the consumer, whoever buys the product, has to pay more money.
Right.
So
Also, people do retaliatory tariffs. So if this country decides to do a tariff on another country, the other country is not just going to say whatever. They'll do a tariff, and this is how it sort of had the Smoot-Haltley tariff and how you had the Great Depression. So this is not it just creates a war.
absolutely, that historical reference to the Smoot-Hawley tax that created trade wars around the world made the Depression worse.
Yeah.
The Depression had just already started to crash, but it made everything worse and we couldn't recuperate. So let's talk about trade and why it is beneficial for both parties that do the trade. At least they both think so because they're doing it consensually and voluntarily. So let's start off at an individual level and see what happens. If you decided to produce everything you wanted and needed in your daily life, your food, your clothes, your transportation, you only walk, etc., how would that affect your quality of life?
Well, bad, because first of all, other people do things better than you. There's no way that you're very good at everything. Most people are typically good at one or two things. And time is limited, right? I mean, as David Ricardo understood, even if one person or one country is better at producing everything, it's still in beneficial people's interests to just produce what their comparative advantage, because even if I'm able, let's say, to mow my lawn in 2 hours and it takes you 3, but if I'm a doctor that gets paid $50 an hour and you'll charge $15 an hour, I'm saving money by just hiring you while I could use that time to be a doctor instead.
Yeah, I want to get to all of that in a moment, but I want to get it clear that you could decide to produce everything you want and need in life instead of working and making some money and then trading that work that's represented by that money for the goods and services that you want in life. Right. You could decide, no, I'm not going to work to get the money. I'm not going to give the jobs to the other people. I'm going to do all the jobs myself. You would be then at the bottom of a heap of jobs that you couldn't do and living a miserable life, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so that wouldn't change if you just traded with the people in your own state. Instead of every state, you could just say each state could have their protection, and you would only be able to trade with the people in your state. So that situation would not change because you would still be limited to making trades with the people in your state, right?
Sure.
And we saw that problem in the Constitution by including the Interstate Commerce Clause, which prohibited one state from doing protection import substitution from other states said, no, no, you cannot put tariffs on the goods of other states, right? And that was an essential factor for the prosperity of the United States,
One of the
right?
things that I find interesting that both the left and the right have in common is they seem to have a fixed pie view of the world. The left seems to believe that there's a fixed pie of wealth, and the only way I can get richer is by making you poor. And the right seems to have a fixed pie view of jobs, that, immigrants are only consumers, they don't produce anything. So if an immigrant enters this country, they're obviously just going to take something away from you. Really? Could it be that they're producing something that wouldn't have existed before? Why are you only looking at half of the equation? That's silly.
Absolutely, and maybe we'll do